Welcome to this exciting video where we explore the top 2 most valuable Kennedy half-dollar coins that have become legendary among collectors. These coins, honoring President John F. Kennedy, were first introduced in 1964, but a few rare versions have gone far beyond their 50-cent face value, reaching prices in the thousands due to their rarity, minting errors, and special history. Let's get started. First up, the 1989 Kennedy half-dollar, struck at the Denver Mint, bearing the D Mint mark, and preserved in very fine condition. This coin is more than just a 50-cent piece. It's a symbol of American history, leadership, and remembrance, carrying the legacy of one of the most beloved presidents, John F. Kennedy. The Kennedy half-dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after President Kennedy's tragic assassination. Americans immediately embraced it as a tribute to their fallen leader, and since then, it has remained a treasured part of U.S. coinage. By 1989, this design had already become a national icon, a familiar face in every collection and cash drawer. On the obverse side of your 1989 half-dollar, you'll see the elegant and instantly recognizable portrait of John F. Kennedy. His profile faces left, his hair sculpted with fine lines that give the image depth and realism. Even in very fine condition, these details remain clear, though softened by gentle wear. Above his head is the inscription Liberty, stretching boldly across the rim. Below, the date, 1989, marks the coin's place in time, while the national motto In God We Trust appears just beneath Kennedy's chin, a timeless reminder of American faith and unity. The small letter D, found just beneath Kennedy's neck, identifies this coin as a Denver Mint issue. The Denver facility has a long history of producing high-quality coins, and 1989 was no exception. The D Mint mark helps collectors distinguish it from the Philadelphia version, which lacks a mint mark. Turning the coin over, the reverse side is just as majestic. It features the presidential seal, an eagle with outstretched wings, clutching arrows and an olive branch in its talons. This powerful image represents both the nation's readiness for defense and its desire for peace. Encircling the eagle are 50 stars, representing the 50 states of the Union. Above its head, a banner reads, E Pluribus Unum, Latin for, out of many one, capturing the essence of American unity. The words, United States of America, crown the top of the coin, while half-dollar stretches across the bottom. Together, these inscriptions give the coin a sense of strength and dignity, a fitting tribute to a president remembered for his courage and vision. The Kennedy half-dollar is made of a copper-nickel-clad composition, giving it a silvery appearance with a subtle warmth in tone. Over the years, circulation has slightly dulled its luster, yet in very fine condition, your coin still retains a pleasing shine and clear detail. In 1989, the coin's design remained unchanged from earlier years, reflecting the public's continuing affection for President Kennedy. While many denominations changed over time, the half-dollar stood firm as a symbol of continuity and respect. Although the Kennedy half-dollar was produced in large numbers, it was rarely seen in everyday use by the late 1980s. Most Americans preferred quarters and smaller coins for transactions, leaving the half-dollar to collectors and banks. This limited circulation helped preserve many of these coins in better condition than other denominations. That's why finding a 1989 D. Kennedy half-dollar in very fine condition isn't too difficult, yet it still holds great historical and sentimental value. When you examine your coin closely, you might notice how the high points of Kennedy's hair have softened slightly due to wear. The cheekbone and jawline may appear smooth, while the reverse still shows good feather and shield detail on the eagle. The coin's edges are reeded, with fine vertical lines that create texture and sparkle when light hits them. Even after decades, this edge design often remains well-defined in very fine examples. The year 1989 marked an important era in American history, a time of change, progress, and optimism as the Cold War neared its end. Holding this coin is like holding a snapshot of that moment in time. Collectors appreciate the Kennedy half-dollar not only for its beauty but for its emotional significance. It represents hope, leadership, and the enduring impact of a president who inspired an entire generation. In the world of coin collecting, condition matters greatly, and very fine condition is a sweet spot, showing enough where to prove authenticity but enough sharpness to preserve detail. Your coin fits that description perfectly. If you tilt the coin under light, you may see traces of its original mint luster around the lettering and fields, especially near the rims. These surviving traces add to its charm and visual appeal. The Denver Mint struck millions of half-dollars in 1989, ensuring that this coin reached across the country. Each one was made to exacting standards, continuing the mint's long tradition of quality craftsmanship. While it's not a rare coin, the 1989 D. Kennedy half-dollar remains an important collectible for anyone building a year-by-year half-dollar set. It bridges the late 20th century with the modern era of U.S. coinage. The obverse design, sculpted by Gilroy Roberts, and the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, are both masterpieces of American coin artistry. Their collaboration created one of the most enduring designs in modern numismatics. Even though it's over 3 decades old, your 1989 half-dollar continues to shine with history. Each mark and scratch tells a small story of pockets, cash registers, and hands that passed it along through the years. Coins like this serve as reminders of how history and art come together in everyday objects. They carry memories of the people, events, and ideals that define a nation. For new collectors, the Kennedy half-dollar is often a first step into the fascinating world of numismatics. It's affordable, meaningful, and visually stunning, a perfect introduction to the beauty of coin collecting. In very fine condition, your coin is not just currency, it's a conversation piece. It speaks of American pride, craftsmanship, and the enduring respect for President Kennedy's legacy. The combination of its detailed design, historical context, and emotional resonance makes the 1989 D. Kennedy half-dollar a coin worth keeping, studying, and appreciating. Every time you hold it, remember that you're holding a small piece of history, one that connects the ideals of the 1960s with the progress of the late 1980s and beyond. So, whether you're a casual collector, a historian, or simply someone who appreciates the artistry of coins, the 1989 D. Kennedy half-dollar stands as a shining example of America's ability to honor its heroes through lasting design and craftsmanship. And as we close today's look at this remarkable coin, take a moment to reflect on what it represents: unity, resilience, and the timeless legacy of President John F. Kennedy, captured forever in the metal of the American half-dollar. Next up, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar with a D mint mark, minted in Denver, and preserved in very fine condition. This coin is not only a piece of currency but also a lasting tribute to one of the most beloved figures in American history, President John F. Kennedy. The Kennedy half-dollar was first released in 1964, less than a year after the assassination of President Kennedy. Americans embraced it as a powerful symbol of remembrance, and its popularity ensured that it would remain a part of U.S. coinage for decades to come. By 1972, this coin had already become a fixture in both everyday circulation and coin collections alike. On the obverse side of the coin, we see a beautiful left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy. The design was created by Gilroy Roberts, who had also sculpted Kennedy's portrait for the presidential medal. Even in very fine condition, the details of Kennedy's hair, facial features, and neckline remain sharp and distinctive. Above the portrait, the word "Liberty" is boldly inscribed, symbolizing the very principle that Kennedy stood for throughout his presidency. Beneath his chin, the words "In God We Trust" reflect the nation's enduring faith, and just below the neckline, the date 1972 identifies the coin's year of minting. If you look closely, you'll spot a small D mint mark located just below Kennedy's neck, signifying that this coin was struck at the Denver Mint. The Denver Mint has a long tradition of producing coins with excellent quality, and the 1972 half-dollar is no exception. Flipping the coin over, we find the reverse design, created by Frank Gasparro. It features the seal of the President of the United States, a majestic bald eagle with its wings spread wide. In its talons, the eagle holds both olive branches and arrows, symbolizing the nation's desire for peace and its readiness to defend itself when necessary. Surrounding the eagle are 50 stars, representing the 50 states of the Union. The Latin phrase "e pluribus unum," meaning "out of many one," appears above the eagle's head, capturing the essence of America's unity despite its diversity. Around the rim, the inscriptions "United States of America" and "half-dollar" complete the design, giving the coin a bold and official appearance. The intricate details of the feathers, shield, and lettering stand out beautifully even in very fine condition. The 1972 Kennedy half-dollar was made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, giving it a silvery appearance but without any actual silver content. This change had taken place in 1971, ending the era of silver-clad halves that began in 1965. In very fine condition, your coin likely shows light to moderate wear, especially on Kennedy's cheek, jawline, and hair. However, the overall design remains clear and attractive, maintaining much of its original character and detail. The reeded edge of the coin adds an extra touch of craftsmanship and texture. Even after decades of circulation, many 1972 D half dollars still retain their crisp edges, showing how well-made these coins truly are. During the early 1970s, the Kennedy half dollar was still seen in daily commerce, though it was already becoming less common in pockets and cash registers. Many people saved these coins as keepsakes rather than spending them. Because of this tendency to hoard, large quantities of 1972 half dollars were produced but often remained uncirculated or lightly circulated. That's why finding one in very fine condition today is relatively easy, yet it still holds great nostalgic value. This coin is part of a long-running series that continues to be minted today, making it one of the longest-lived designs in modern U.S. coinage. Collectors love to assemble Kennedy half-dollar sets by year and mint mark, and the 1972 D is an essential part of that collection. The coin's large size and bold design make it visually striking. Measuring 30.6 millimeters in diameter, it's one of the biggest circulating coins produced by the U.S. Mint, giving collectors a satisfying heft when held in hand. If you tilt your 1972 D half dollar under a light, you may notice subtle traces of luster, especially around the lettering and protected areas near the rim. These highlights add life to the coin's surface, even after years of circulation. The portrait of Kennedy on this coin remains one of the most admired in American numismatic history. It captures his youth, confidence, and charisma, qualities that continue to inspire generations long after his passing. The Denver Mint struck millions of Kennedy half dollars in 1972, ensuring wide availability. However, collectors still value the coin for its symbolism and for representing the shift from silver to clad compositions in U.S. coinage history. Every coin tells a story, and this 1972 D half dollar reflects a time of change in America, a period when the country was moving forward while still honoring its past. Even though the coin is common, its emotional significance cannot be understated. For many, it serves as a tangible connection to the memory of John F. Kennedy, whose vision of public service and progress still echoes today. The Kennedy half-dollar series has become a cornerstone for collectors, offering both beauty and historical importance in one piece. The 1972 D issue is a wonderful example from the early clad years of the series. Examining the coin's reverse, the details of the eagle's feathers, shield lines, and stars remain visible and elegant. This artistry is what makes the Kennedy half dollar one of the most admired coins in the world. If you look closely at your coin, you may see faint signs of age and circulation, tiny nicks or dulling on the high points, but these marks only add to its story and authenticity. Coins like this remind us that money isn't just a tool of exchange, it's also a piece of national history and identity. The 1972 D half dollar carries with it the pride of craftsmanship and the emotion of remembrance. For new collectors, this coin is an excellent starting point, affordable, meaningful, and visually stunning. For seasoned numismatists, it's a reminder of how artistry and symbolism can endure through time. Even today, when half dollars are rarely used in daily transactions, the Kennedy series remains one of the most collected in America. It bridges generations and continues to represent ideals of leadership and hope. When you hold the 1972 D Kennedy half dollar in your hand, you're holding more than 50 cents. You're holding a small tribute to American history, minted in metal and preserved through time. In very fine condition, it captures the perfect balance between wear and detail, making it a beautiful example for display or study. Its charm lies not in rarity, but in meaning. So, as we close today's look at the 1972 D Kennedy half dollar, take a moment to appreciate its story, from its origins in a time of mourning to its continued place in American hearts and collections. This coin is a timeless reminder of a great leader, a resilient nation, and the enduring power of remembrance, captured forever in the silver-gray surface of the Kennedy half dollar.